HighCast. Woo! HighCast is recorded in the studios of Highland FM. Go to highlandfm.org.au. You can volunteer. You can be like me. Just do it. It's fun. The SES, Wingecarribee State Emergency Service, is hosting a gentleman's night. Get ready, guys, on July 17. Go to the Wingecarribee SES unit Facebook page to register. Get in quick. Spots are very limited. The Highlands HighCast current experience is Majors Meets Paddock to Plate tour. I was thinking this morning, I wish every day I could go on a paddock to plate tour. It's just really nice to be out in the green fields. It is awesome to eat good food. It is awesome to see how meat is produced. And I think you should do it. Go to Majors, maugers.com.au. Follow the links to the Paddock to Plate tour. Get involved. It's a lot of fun. My current optimization tool remains to be Bright Spenders. I've been using Bright Spenders now for a couple of months. It seems like forever because it's so good. And I'm using it to control my spending. Anthea, who is our representative in the Highlands, is teaching my wife and I to get control of our spending, and it's fantastic. I had no idea where my money was going. Well, I did, but I didn't track it. And now I have my spending planned out for the next 10 years, and I can scope whether I'll be able to afford an investment home, whether I can go on a holiday, all those fantastic things. So go to brightspenders.com. I highly recommend it. It's if you're into health and fitness and making the most out of your life, get control of your money because I just didn't know what I was doing, but now I feel like I'm in control. Brightspenders.com. It's awesome. Whew. Our guest today, how long are we? 2 minutes. I got to get that down. Our guest today is Steve Horton. Steve is a Highlands local. Well, look, I just gave it away. He's from Bowral, everybody. If you want to knock on his door, go find him. He is a Highlands local, a small business owner and chairperson of the Southern Highlands Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Welcome, Steve.
Good morning, Dave. Good afternoon, I should say.
Well, look, anyone anywhere in the world could be listening to this. It could be 3 a.m. their time. I have a few listeners in Japan.
Really?
Yeah, so konnichiwa.
To all those in Japan? Yes.
Whatever time it is that you are tuning in from all around the world, welcome. So you are chairperson of the Southern Highlands Chamber of Commerce and that is a mouthful.
It certainly is, and it took us days to work out what to call it, but we had to try and cover off bigger business as well as the smaller businesses, and that's why we added the industry in there. So
okay, so what is the role of what is it? Should we just do the abbreviation?
Chamber
with the chamber. Yeah. Okay, what's the role of the chamber?
The first thing we need to say is that the chamber is now affiliated with New South Wales Business Chamber. And so, therefore, our regional chamber is Illawarra, which gives us a lot of leverage politically, and we lobby government on behalf of business for lots of different things. But from a local perspective, we actually become an advocate for local business. We offer local business opportunity to network, and we run networking nights, which cost them nothing, because we've got one of our members that very generously gives both food and a location.
Hey,
which is wonderful, and we meet once a month. We do that. We're working with another one of our members to put on a series of breakfasts, and I met with a group this morning from one of the safety groups that are talking about work health safety in the workplace and about how we get people back to work and all those different things. We're going to be running a series of business breakfasts. And generally, the base for the chamber is to try and improve or expand on economic development within the area that fits in with both the business community and the community at large. It's very important.
So how, like, you mentioned you're an advocate on behalf, and that you're doing it on behalf of the business community and community. How do you identify what everybody wants?
With a lot of difficulty.
Yeah, okay.
Because you can't ever touch anything. One of the most
Don't touch the signs everywhere.
Look, it's really difficult because everybody has a different idea of what should be done. But just to give you an idea on some of the bigger things we've been working on with Illawarra Business Chamber and New South Wales Business Chamber. In the New South Wales budget, they've just introduced an increase in the threshold for payroll tax. Now that doesn't affect a lot of smaller businesses, but for the big businesses in this area, it makes a huge difference because it's now going up to $850,000 next year, and then within 5 years it'll be at $1 million. Now that means that there's an opportunity for them to employ more people.
Okay, and they don't have to. Okay,
yes,
sure.
And so that's the sort of thing that we work with the New South Wales Business Chamber on. So a lot of the chambers actually endorse those things as they go through. The other thing that we've been inputting into, I'm actually on the Regional Advisory Council for Illawarra Business Chamber, and we've been working with those guys down there. They've been doing some research on doing a road study on connectivity between in the transport systems. We haven't been hugely involved in that at this stage, but we will be in the not too distant future, talking about how we connect more with Western Sydney as things like the airport are built and all those sorts of things.
That's going to be really interesting, and I think it's that could be potentially a gold mine for the Highlands. We don't have to have the planes landing right on top of us. Hopefully there's not too much flight path
yeah, let's hope.
Impact, but at the same time, half an hour, or probably an hour from our doorstep, there's people going to be coming in. There'll be freight moving. There'll be things happening in Western Sydney that we should be able to tap into.
That's right. And one of the things that we've been talking to some of our bigger businesses about is the fact that we want to get people pre-registered so that they're actually in a position to actually have to be on the registers for some of these bigger businesses in the Cumberland area, for example, around Liverpool, so that when these tenders come out, they're already part of the tendering process and they don't have to tender for every job.
Interesting.
So we've got one of our board members at the moment that's actually putting some work together, and we'll be running a series of programs on what you've got to do to get pre-registered for tendering processes. And not every business, like my own business, won't get anything out of that. But there are other businesses in this area that can actually supply products and services to those industries that are being built up there. The other thing that we need to work on, and we really do need to do this, is because this area here, we want to make sure that we maintain the lifestyle we have here. To think that we're never going to grow in this area is a joke, because it's happening all over the world. We're going to grow. There's going to be more people here. But we're never going to have the level of industry here that we need. So if we can get the right transport corridors put in place, we can actually offer the young people that live in this area more sustainable type of work that is outside the food and wine area that only usually provides part-time work for people. And if we can get the right transport in place, we can actually offer the transport backwards and forwards now. So one of the things that that a lot of people ask me is, so we do things for business, but what do we do for community? Well, we're doing that sort of stuff for community. I'm sort of not just worried about the businesses here, I'm also worried about how do we get the right level of employment for people in the area, both here and if they've got to travel, make sure that they can actually get there. Because young people, when they start off apprenticeships and traineeships, they usually don't have a motor vehicle, or if they do, they can't afford the fuel, all that sort of stuff. So that's what they're some of the things we're looking at. And
I think it's really fantastic to hear business talk about that. A lot of people hear the word business and they think of gentlemen in suits or ladies in suits. They think of big banks who are making massive profits. They think of evil corporations. They're not thinking about, and I shouldn't generalise, but I'll go into for a little bit. But they don't think of people planning for the future of a community. That's not generally what comes to mind when you think of business.
No, it's not. But look, one of the reasons that I stepped up and actually volunteered to chair this particular group is that I came with a vision. And there's a whole lot of things in my vision. One of them is social conscience, that businesses need to be part of that fabric of the community. A lot of people think we're a very affluent society here, and that is the case for some people.
For some
but
people,
it's
yeah.
certainly not for a large majority of the people that live in this area. So there's lots of groups that I've actually spoken to recently that need our help, and so I'm actually petitioning businesses to be part of that. So there's more to the Chamber of Commerce than just business. But business is important because we need to be advocates for our small businesses in this area, and that's what we're trying to do. We're working with Steve Rosa at the Destination Southern Highlands and the Food and Wine Association to make sure that we do things like Pie Time. Pie Time's been fantastic for most of the wineries, and it certainly has been for most of the restaurants and cafes in the area. And some of the businesses, I know my own business is actually, I wouldn't say we've done marvellously well out of it, but we have seen quite a few people spin off from that.
Foot traffic, is a good spin-off, isn't it?
And I think that there's a mix, and we need to get the mix right. So it's not just about, it's about how do we as a business community fit into the local community with all the residents, because we're residents as well, and how do we meet those requirements, and how do we work together to ensure that we're actually pushing the council in this area to make this area the area we want it to be, and that the businesses that we actually invite here are sustainable into the future.
Interesting
really
the use of the word sustainable, because it's a hot topic at the moment. Is whether it's sustainable energy, sustainable use of primary industries, or sustainable use of water. It makes sense that the same approach would be taken to business.
Oh, absolutely. And when we talk about sustainability, and this was part of my previous job. In my previous role, I was a business development and improvement manager for the state government in the water industry, which was a very topical industry at the time, and through one of the major...
Still is.
Well, it is now, but it's...
For all the wrong reasons, but anyway.
Yeah, but when I was doing it before, it was we're having a major drought, and it looked like we were not going to have enough water for Sydney, and we come up with solutions.
You must have done a very good job, Steve. We're in drought again.
We can be in drought, but we actually have enough water now.
Sorry, I ruined your train of thought.
No, that's okay, because one of the things that we actually, that the group I work with, not me in particular, but the planners in our group, they came up with, methods and things they could do to actually ensure that Sydney had another 50 years of water supply without building things. So what they did, they put deeper off-takes into the dams and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that we need to be aware that it's not just about the environment. Sustainability is also, for businesses, is about, can they actually make enough money here to be sustainable?
Yes.
And so we've got to look at the quadrants that are attached to sustainability, and that's one of the things that I'm very keen on.
What are the quadrants?
So your quadrants are environment, community, physicality, and financial.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so if you look, and environment fits in that physicality.
Sure.
So you've got to look at all of those aspects. And I remember, just going back probably about 15 years ago, I was at a conference, and I was speaking at a conference down in Launceston, and there was a guy down there who's one of the leading exponents on sustainability in the world, and he just happened to bump into me, and we got chatting, and he said to me, I'm going to give you a model that I usually make people pay for, and you can take this back to your business. Which I did. I thought this is a great opportunity.
Sure.
But it's something that's always stuck in my head about, we need to plan for sustainability for today and tomorrow. So a lot of people think sustainability is about the future, but it's not. It's actually about right now. And if businesses can't survive here, they're not sustainable, and people lose their jobs, and as you know, they have mortgages and all that sort of stuff, and that's not good for anybody in the district. So there's some of the things that are in my mind that I work on in the background, but most of the time with my board, there's 8 of us on the board, and we work towards making sure that we advocate for the businesses in this area in a sustainable manner.
So without generalising it too much, is it along the lines of, is businesses doing well, communities doing well, or is that too simple?
Oh, it's a bit simple, but basically, if businesses are doing well in this area, they're employing people, and if they're employing people, business does well in the area. It's a bit of a cycle, and that's one of the reasons I wrote an article recently in the Southern Highlands News about why it's important that local people support local business, because they're the ones that are actually supplying local jobs. And it doesn't matter whatever level. I mean, the biggest employer in the area is the council, and then after that...
Is it really?
Oh, yeah, they're the biggest employer.
How many people do
I don't know exactly how many they've got, but I was talking to another fellow this morning that employs 300 people.
And there's more at council?
There's more in council.
That's disappointing, actually. I don't know why I'm disappointed, but I just kind of thought that we would have someone...
Well, we don't have big industry in this area. We've actually
I
shunned a lot
so.
of big industry. We do have some big industry still in this area, and I was talking to one of the guys this morning. I'm not going to mention names because that's not fair.
No, that's right.
But he was telling me that they employ over 200 people,
Yeah.
and they're an industry, and I'm very, very keen to do some more work with that industry, because imagine if in November, if those guys left the area... Over 200.
Hang on. What's happening in November?
Well, no, nothing.
Just a hypothetical month?
No, it was just a hypothetical month because it's close to Christmas. But I'm
you
saying,
heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
No.
Watch this space in November.
No. All I'm saying is that how bad would it be for families if close to Christmas, 200 families, their breadwinner in the family, even if there's two working families.
Yeah, if my wife or I lost our jobs.
It just puts a lot of pressure on the family and on the... So that's one of the things that we say about sustainability. It's got to be... These companies have got to be able to function here, and that involves a lot of things. It involves proper transport corridors, it involves productivity, it involves, getting the support of council and the local people, it involves being able to sell their product both nationally and internationally, and there's a whole other raft of things, and they're sorts of things that we work with Illawarra Business Chamber on, all of that sort of stuff. But here locally, we're trying to concentrate on being an advocate for local businesses. It's one of the reasons why I've agreed to do this interview today, because I think it's important that we get the message out that we are not just working for business, we're working for the total community.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that, and I'm an emergency manager, and one of the things that has frustrated me about emergency management is once you scratch the surface of emergencies, you find out that the solution or the prevention of emergencies is linked to transport. It's linked to economy. It's linked to community. It's linked to environment. So I can do all the work that I can to prevent some sort of disaster from happening, but I don't have control over town planning. And if I can't control town planning, then I can't prevent emergency. And that's what I feel like you and I are following similar paths. Although you're working on behalf of business, you need, for business to thrive, you talked about having a transport corridor. Now, how do you have direct control over that? No, but you have to advocate on their behalf. So it actually is a really difficult...
Yeah, we need to be able to input into that process. Now, I have an emergency services background as well. Like, I've been with the New South Wales Rural Fire Service for over 30 years. I've been a fire captain out at Burrowing for many of those years. I've travelled all over the state doing stuff, and it's very interesting because it's not just, you're right, transport and all those things when there's an incident on, but the level of equipment that we supply our volunteers with, all of those things, I believe that the Chamber is also can push some of those things as well. And it's a little bit more difficult because volunteers are a completely different issue to paid employees, but... as I said to you earlier, if the volunteers of this state walked out tomorrow, the state would stop.
See you later, everybody. I'm giving up. I've had enough. But do you you sound like you're a man with a vision that's large, right? Do you find that it's difficult to express big picture stuff? Do people get on board with the vision and the grand narrative?
It's been interesting. For some reason, I have been blessed, and people do listen. When in my previous job, for some reason, the board and the exec used to listen to what I had to say from a big picture.
You're just a really loud person, or are you?
No, I think because I have a passion, and I think if you have a passion and you speak from your heart as well as knowledge, I think people will stop and listen. And a wise man, and I remember when I first got involved in the RFS, this bloke was interesting because I got in there and I had a lot of skills, but I'd never really led anything much up until that stage, and I was going to be made a fire captain. And I said, I just don't know. And they said to me, you've got to have a vision. And the best way to see if people are following your vision is when you actually ask the troops to march into the fire with you and you look behind you and they're not walking with you, you know you're not a leader. And I've really worked hard on that. And sometimes you have to slow down with your vision because people are not catching it, as you said. But most of the time here, I find that people are capturing that vision. Certainly the growth in the chambers, you know, we've had a growth spurt in the chamber and we're hoping to double the membership by this time next year. And we're doing a lot of things to try and encourage businesses to get more involved. Behind that, we're looking at how do we become more socially conscious and socially aware and socially active in the community as well as business aware and business active. And I think people understand that. The one thing I have had a difficulty with is, and some people do understand this and others don't, is, and we spoke about this earlier, is I don't know, this area is held up as an affluent area. And there is a lot of people that are doing really well in this area. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of people moving in the area that are doing really well. But there's a huge section of this community here that are not doing well. And it's on lots of different levels. It's not just about poverty. It's about things like domestic violence and drug abuse and all of those different things. So one of the things that I'm very passionate about is that issue. So yeah, I don't know what that was. I don't think the spirits here are really handling that comment too well at all. So
no, keep talking about it. I want to see these spirits.
So look, at the end of the day, I think, you know, I can prattle on about that all day because it's a very thing I'm very passionate about, and you know, and my wife and I and my whole family feel quite passionate about this, and I will continue to push along those lines in the chamber until my tenure is up, and that will be at the discretion of the membership. At the moment, the members are quite happy having me in that role, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, okay. Look, I think people with vision and passion are actually quite rare. Like, there's not. I shouldn't generalise, but maybe it's the ability to articulate that and then give people purpose and direction and have that willingness to take people on the journey. It's not something that you encounter very often. People who think something really big and go, this is where we could be, and I've got a potential roadmap for the future, and would you guys and girls, would everyone like to come along with me? It's not something that you encounter very often. So I want to get your thoughts on, you know, being a leader in that area, and you know, do you enjoy it? Do you find it difficult? Is it something you would encourage your children and others to do?
As far as my children are concerned, I'm already encouraging my children. I have one of my kids has their own company up here, and she's already demonstrating leadership in that role with her husband. Her and her husband are doing really well. They're employing people. My son and I actually run the gallery together, and I'm encouraging him. He went out onto the mission field last year, so he's already challenging his own beliefs and thoughts about, you know, how he can offer leadership in places that are in need. So he went to Mozambique. Wow. And I'm very proud of him for doing that.
I'd love to get your son on to talk about that. I reckon that sounds like a fantastic experience.
He just absolutely loved that experience, and he's since found out that a terrorist group have actually been to that orphanage. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so he was quite upset about that. But his plan is to go and further that. My other son lives down the coast now, but I encourage all of my kids to understand that they need to be part of the environment they live in. It's really important. And my wife and I have decided that because I'm so active in that role, that one person needs to be active in that role. She's very, very supportive. I couldn't have done any of this stuff without my wife. We've been together for 42 years. We've been married this year.
Wow.
She has been so supportive. And that's the thing that allows me to be able to do these things. So I think that that's important. First of all, you've got to have a good base around you of people that support and love you. That's the first thing. The second thing is I do enjoy it. That's why I do it. One of the things I said I would always do when I got out of working for the government, and that was an interesting story in its own right. The day I quit, I walked into work, said I'm out of here, and I left that Friday because I had so much long service leave. So I always said that I would come and I wanted to be active and support this community, and that's the sort of thing. So I'm also the chairperson of the Berrima Courthouse Trust, which is not called a trust anymore. They've just changed the name, but that's a legislative thing. And I love that. That's fantastic. We've got a great vision for that place, great CEO, and been a fire captain for 30 years. So I do enjoy it. I love it. I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful that you can work with people, and you don't. And when I talk about being a leader, it doesn't necessarily mean, it means that you've got a good team around you. That's what it means. You can only do this stuff if you've got good people working with you. Okay, that's really important. So people sort of hold people up as, you're the leader, but it's not that simple. At work, I had a great team. My team used to pull together the most amazing stuff that they'd give to me to take to the board, and my job, all I was a salesman. They were the ones that come up with the data and, the great implementation processes. And I think that's one of the things we need to be aware of, that we've got a lot of very, very bright people in this area, and we need to utilise those skills to the max, and we don't.
Do you feel that leadership is a skill that's not gone missing, but is fading away?
I think people's understanding of leadership has changed. My idea of leadership is having a vision and surrounding yourself with really, really wonderful people that can actually deliver that vision, that want to deliver it with you. Whenever I employed people in the past, I've always looked for passion in those people, and anybody that ever said passion at an interview were pretty much certain to get the job, because that's the sort of stuff. The business I was in, you needed passion to be able to drive those changes. So, and it's the same now, pretty much. And as I said, the board I have on the chamber at the moment, we're doing a great job together. I'm not saying we can't do better. We can certainly do better. There's no way I would ever say that we've.
We're done. See you later, guys. Bye.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we can do better, and we're striving all the time to do that. We're currently looking at new systems and all that sort of stuff. But the team that I have there, they do a great job. They work hard at trying to deliver these products that these products that we offer our members, and. It's not being a leader is not a lone thing, and I think sometimes these days there's too many people think that it's about being alone and just that, and it's not about that. It's about working together with people to deliver the vision that all of you have.
So, what's the vision of the chamber? The
chamber here has a vision that says that we want to work together to increase the economic development in this area in a sustainable manner with the community. That's what we want to do. So we all need to be working on this stuff together. We have a plan. The council has a plan. It's called I think it's called the Residents Strategic Plan.
Yeah, the 2021 or
2031.
2031 Community Strategic Plan.
Yeah,
yes.
that's it. So that plan, I was part of that group. I volunteer for all of these things, so I think it's important we input into them. So that plan, we need, as we develop things here, we need to make sure that we fit inside. So people, the residents have said they want to see green space. We agree with that. So as we do development in this area, we need to make sure the green space is still there. And people say that they don't want to see this place flooded and be like Sydney. Well, we can work towards that, whether that actually happens or not.
Yeah,
we're so close to Sydney here.
That comes up a lot on the podcast. Is how do we avoid being Campbelltown? Is it possible? And if it is possible, how do you lay the framework for the next 20 odd years so that you can achieve that? But it seems like a very difficult.
We can't stick our head in the sand. That's the first thing.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
I think it's going to go away.
Yeah, you got to be planning now to say, look, from a development perspective, for example, no new developments that are below 1,000 square meters. Like I'm just making it up, but all of that sort of thing that you need to start thinking about now. And I guess I drive down the street, and this is how I described it before. I see the great stuff that's in the community strategic plan, but then you drive down the street, the two don't correlate.
Nah. I think one of the things I said earlier is part of the solution. If we can't have enough employment here for people into the future, having the correct transport corridors to give them access to employment is a critical thing. I commuted for 15 years to both Sydney, Campbelltown and Penrith.
Yeah.
It takes its toll.
Yes.
When you're driving. And I would see the same people driving with me every day. So if we had proper train systems, but if we had, I still ask the question, and I've been asking this question for 5 years now, and nobody's given me an answer.
Can I answer it for you?
I've said to Prue Goward, why can we not be part of the metro system here?
Well, I always juxtapose this and say, well, look, Central Coast... Blue Mountains.
Yeah, Illawarra.
Yeah, all part of the metro.
So why can't
we?
I don't
know. Is it the actual rail, like the physical engineering of the rail? I kind of feel like there's something.
They had big problems in the Illawarra with tunnels and all of those things. They overcome all of that stuff, and they're part of the metro. Now, since they've done that, the amount of people they're exporting for jobs every day to the city is incredible. Yeah,
people who live in Thurrool, for example, it's an hour and a bit to Central.
But they're working on the train. Yeah. The thing is, they don't have to drive.
But an hour, what's an hour? It's if you catch the train from Barrel here, by the time you get where you're going, it's 2.5 hours.
Yeah, at least, if not 3.
That's ridiculous. So you can't have a satellite community in. You said we've got all these talented people. We could be a little satellite that's sends people in 1 or 2 days a week on the train. It's an hour and a bit commute. And it would be really simple, but for whatever reason.
That's one of the things that people need to look at in the planning senses. And so we've got to work out if we're not going to have certain things here, we need to be able to have proper transport corridors to get people into other places.
So do you feel like I kind of feel like let's have them here? And I think it was you because we've met previously. I think I said, why don't we have a government hub here? What I work for New South Wales.
Great question.
New South Wales government. There's fax here. There's local land services is in Mossvale. It would make sense. Like in Goulburn, there is a New South Wales government building. Why don't we have one of those?
I haven't.
Okay.
I stood for council in the last election, and that would have been one of my pushes. But anyway, I didn't get in.
Like stumped. You can't answer the question.
There's no answer. There is no answer because it's a planning process. We just don't. We need to start thinking outside the squares. And hopefully with some of the things I'm doing in the chamber and working with the Illawarra Business Chamber, we can actually start pushing. We've actually met with council recently, and we've actually sort of saying to council, you need to become part of the chamber. There's no reason. All councils all over the state are part of the chambers of commerce.
I don't know what the rules are around being part.
There
of
is
it.
none.
Yeah, okay.
They can actually be part of the chamber.
Yeah, okay, sure.
It's really important because then we all can become part of the solution. I think I'm a great believer in becoming part of the solution and not part of the problem.
Yeah, well, lots of people are part of the problem, so...
Let's be part of the solution. I think that's a good option.
Yeah. So what is the solution?
Well, I think the solution is that we need to work more together. I just think we have to, and we have to start thinking, further forward, and we have to continually revise these planning processes, and we need to think outside the squares. I'm very tired of hearing people tell me what they don't want. I'm into what do we want,
and it's a common thing. Like people love to complain, and I do it too. I love to have a whinge, and it's really easy to have a whinge. It's actually really hard to do things. It's really hard to make a difference. Well, it's not really hard, but it's easy. It's easier to whinge.
It is more difficult.
It's easy to go, oh, that sucks, rather than okay, here's my solution to solve that problem. And I kind of feel that you mentioned that there's a lot of skilled people, but I feel that maybe there is a leadership deficit in the area, that there's not enough people like yourself who are saying, there's so much potential here if we just plan better, if we just organise better, if we all just I don't know, got along better.
We need to work together more. There's a lot of groups in this area, and we need to work more together, and we need to have a common goal, which is one of the things that's just come out of the latest New South Wales destination planning processes. One of the things they said when they got us all together was, we need a common goal for Wallandilly here and Shoalhaven, which is all part of a big cluster now.
Interesting.
What's the common goal? And it was interesting the sorts of things that people said, but they now have this vision.
Is that just for a tourism perspective?
It's from a tourism perspective.
I suppose it doesn't matter, right? Let's just
But the thing is,
extrapolate
at least it's people that are working together now to come up with a common. So what do we want? So that was the thing, and I loved that. Like when that guy said that, I could have run up and kissed him. I mean, what do we want? I mean, we've heard lots of things that people are not happy with over the last 2 hours. What do we now? Now tell us what we want, and we'll put that on document, and we'll start planning towards that, because that's what we want. And I think, and that's one of the things we've done in the chamber. Like we've when I go to these economic development, and I can't talk much about it because there's a lot of commercial and confidence stuff down there we talk about. But one of the things is we talk about how do we move forward. We don't talk about stepping back in time. We talk about, okay, what's next? What can we do to improve the Illawarra, which we're part of? And how do we move forward on that stuff? And Adam Zarth is the name of the guy that's the executive director down there now. He's living at Robertson. It's fantastic. So he knows a bit about the area here, and it's wonderful. And to be quite frank with you, I think we need to be working more together. Doesn't matter whether you're residents or businesses. We all live here.
Yeah, I think you just raised the Illawarra. Like it's an hour to the Illawarra from here.
Yeah.
That's something that we could actually an area that we could tap into as well from a commuting and a working perspective. There's significant growth to happen down there in the next 20 odd years.
Well, we certainly can tap into it. Part of the road strategy they've just put to the government, we put it to the shadow minister as well as the minister. So we're hedging our bets for the next election.
Well, look, it's touch and go at the moment.
50, So we've presented it to both parties. And one of the things is they want to upgrade Picton Road. Now, if they get a dual carriageway along Picton Road both ways, it will make it easier to get in and out of the Illawarra. That'll be good for business here. When you look at the statistics about where most people come from, Western Sydney is the biggest for our visitor economy, and then after that it's Canberra, and we think we've got this untapped group down there. Why aren't we getting more of those people here?
Trip up the hill.
Yeah, but they don't want to come up Macquarie Pass. They don't want to travel. Picton Road's got such a bad reputation. So if we fix Picton Road and make it easier for people to transport from there to here, and it is an advantage for Illawarra too, because it gives them an access to Western Sydney, which they've been thinking about this. Wollongong, Shoalhaven and Shellharbour Council of Kiama, they're all thinking about what's going to happen in the future. They've already got their plans together for how they're going to tap into what's happening in Western Sydney.
Interesting.
We need to make sure that we're on that, because otherwise we'll miss out. So, and we're already on that corridor. We don't have to do anything to upgrade the road. The road's already there. Rail may help. But so you think about, you do Picton Road up, if we got a Guernsey to do that, it makes so much easier for them to get to the Southern Highlands.
Yeah, okay.
And let's face it, the visitor economy is good for all of us. During the week, one of my biggest amounts of customers, it probably comes out of visiting family and friends. They come down, and I know, because they come in and I know the locals, and they go, "Hi, this is Auntie Susie from so," and I think, I love these people. They're actually bringing their family and friends to shop in the local area. That's great. So if we could actually increase that by tapping into that market down the Illawarra, that's a bonus.
Do you feel like we might be in danger of missing out? Like you mentioned that everyone else has got their plans, and I know Goulburn, Mulwary, or however you.
Mulwary,
yeah, they're thinking, they're planning big time. Do you feel like we're in danger of missing out? Or is that a loaded question?
Well, look, it is a loaded question, but I'm prepared to say this. There are people that think we're not open for business.
Interesting.
Okay, so if that's the perception that people have, and I'm not saying it's a reality, please don't hear that. I'm not saying that. I'm not on council, and I wouldn't criticise the councillors. I wouldn't do that. That's the wrong thing to do. But there is a perception from some areas that we're not open for business.
Yeah, it's a really tough one, and there's people who want to keep the Highlands as traditional and as much in the past. Past is not there. They don't want to change it or want to keep it as pristine as it is, whatever the words that I can't find are. And they potentially see a really scary vision of the future. And, our challenge is how do we bring in, manage the things like the beautiful environment and heritage that we have here, manage the inevitable influx of thousands of people, and remain open for business in an ethical or sustainable or agreed approach. It is a really big challenge.
It is, but I think the word that's the critical word there is sustainability. We have a huge area that's been allocated for business in this area. As far as I know, I don't know whether anybody's moved into that economic zone.
Down in Moss Vale, yeah.
I don't know whether anybody's moved in there, but we need to look at a whole lot of things. We need to look at our development application processes. We need to look at the development costs associated with buying land and trying to put a business in those areas. We need to look at all of those things. And that's part of, so when we talked about, what's sustainable, those issues that we need to look at, that's part of the sustainability. Companies that come here that take 6 to 8 months to get a DA through, they're already paying money on that. Then they get slapped with a $500,000 development cost or whatever it is. I know, please don't quote me on that, but that's just somebody told me that was one of the costs. That's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And so we've got to look at sustainability. Has to be right from the minute we start planning. How do we bring people here? I mean, we can invite people here, but it's got to be sustainable for them to come here. Garland Institute's a good example. We already have the Mouse House here.
Yes.
Why wouldn't we be reaching out to those guys and inviting more of that sort of research work in this area? They already have the level of internet they need in that area because they're running
through. The NBN actually works down.
No, it doesn't. They actually have somebody else doing that for them. A local business that's giving them high speed internet services. If other groups from that area came to do more research, they've already got that stuff. They've already got people here, so they've already got infrastructure here. So that's the sort of way that we can reach out to people. We've got to make it easy for them to get here.
Is there, like you mentioned, the vision? Like, is there the vision that says we want to be a technology hub, we want to be an education hub? Like, and hub's not the right word, but we want to do food and tourism, we want to do technology, we want to do government, we want to do light industry. Like, is that laid out?
Well, I don't know. The economic development committee was actually stood down a few months ago.
Yeah, I had Ian Scandrett and talked about that too.
So, I don't know what Ian said because I haven't seen his.
You don't listen to the podcast.
I do listen to the podcast, but I haven't listened to Ian's. No, but I do listen to the podcast.
Steve will never come back. I'm so rude.
That group of people actually come up with a vision.
Yeah.
And they actually gave the council 5 areas to work with.
Yeah, I think Ian mentioned that.
And since then, the councillors have taken it down to 4. And look, the 4 areas that they're talking about are areas that we could start with. The thing that's concerning me most is that there's a great feeling amongst people, and again it's a perception, that the food and wine in this area is the saviour of the area. And as much as food and wine is wonderful in this area, the wineries are great. I have a great relationship with the food and wine people. Mark Bourne and his team. I have a wonderful relationship with Steve Rose and his team. But that is not going to save this area. It's a wonderful part of it.
Yeah, it should be a one part of a broader economic plan.
But to get full-time jobs in this area that offer young people the sort of employment that they want, I mean, there was a report come out recently which wasn't true. It wasn't correct. And I actually had Illawarra Business Chamber check up. There was a thing come out and said that we had 28%.
Just rounded up to 30.
Yeah. Well, it's not true. I mean, so we were lumped in with the Shellhaven group.
And probably Goulburn too.
No, Shellhaven mainly.
Yeah,
so that
seems like
Mara's got a big unemployment problem with youth, and that drove the figures up. However, most of the young people I talk to, they don't want to work in hospitality.
Yeah.
The hospitality is a stepping stone for them to go to university.
Yeah. So
we need to be able to supply these young people, one, with jobs here that the university then can supply them courses here. Wollongong University they've already got a little campus here.
Yeah, I went and visited there the other day. It's fantastic.
It's fantastic.
And the TAFE there too. And I guess that's my point, right? The bones are there.
It's there.
Everything's here. And I mentioned the driving down the street before. Everything's here, but I drive down the street and I think, well, hang on,
we've got to stop arguing.
Where is this going? How is it all translating into something that's tangible? And I can say to my kids, we're staying here. It's, when you grow up, this is going to be the center for technology, whatever it is. And you will have the opportunity. After you go to the fantastic primary schools, after you go to the fantastic high schools, after you go to work at Coles, whatever it is, or Macca's, you go to university here, and then you can potentially get a job and go wherever you want around the world.
Yep.
And I feel like you mentioned there's so much potential here. I feel like that potential is.
Maybe you and I should both stand for council in the next election.
That's the question I was gonna ask you next. Like what advice do you give to anybody who's standing for council?
So look, the way I look at this, we need to get some young minds involved in that process. It's a very expensive process, which is unnecessarily expensive.
When I spoke to Ian as well, he said like the actual commitment once you're elected is significant.
Huge.
Yeah.
But we need some younger minds involved in that process. We need some younger minds. If they can't get involved in council itself, volunteer for some of the committees that pull together the strategic planning.
Can you do that?
Oh, yeah. And anyone in the community can apply for those.
I reckon I'd be interested to do something like that.
Well,
I hope my wife's not listening because I volunteer.
I'll let you know.
A lot as it is. Because I feel like you maybe council isn't for everyone, and it seems like I don't really want to argue on a Wednesday night meeting about details of what do you got, Station Street for example.
Station Street's a great example.
It seems like something that I'd rather read to my children than have that conversation over and over again. But is there ways that we can get involved to make a difference?
Yeah, look, it was interesting. I was thinking about that on my way over, and I was just thinking about some of the things that people get involved in and don't get involved in. And there's so many ways that people can get involved in the community where they can actually have an impact. You don't have to go like from a bit. Just let me talk about business because because the chamber. So every month we have this thing called 6 Degrees of Separation. Okay, so it's a networking night that's open to anyone.
Really, I've never heard of that.
It's fantastic. It goes out on Facebook. We've got this new forum, and so it goes out. So we invite people to come along, and if they've got a business, we encourage them to get up and give us a little spiel about their business and all that sort of stuff. And then, of course, we do encourage them to join. But at the end of the day, there's that. There's also, as we spoke about before, I write an article in the local newspaper every month, and I talk about all sorts of things like social conscience and why people should shop locally and all that sort of stuff. But there's no reason that younger people shouldn't be looking at doing that stuff.
So
and giving us their
Steve's 21, so I don't know how
I'm looking at 18-year-olds now. I'm trying to encourage my grandson, who's only, at the moment, he's 14. He goes to one of the local schools here, and I'm trying to encourage him to get involved in things. So he actually went and joined up with the RFS, and he hasn't finished the exams.
I was going to say, at 14, you can volunteer.
You can join up, but you can't go and fight fires until you're 16. Sure. But they can learn all of the processes.
Yeah, still be involved, right?
Yeah, and that's what it's about. It's about finding a niche that you feel comfortable in and getting involved. Let me say, there's so much volunteer stuff you can get involved in. With the chamber, go on the chamber website if you're a business and you want to know how you can have more of a say. Go onto our website. There's sections in there where you can actually, give us your feedback. It's easy, shchamber.com.au.
There you go.
And that just shows that I'm not old because I didn't go www.
Yeah. I was going to get that at the end. What is it? SH Chamber?
shchamber.com.au.
Okay, definitely. I'll definitely get in there and check out the 6 degree stuff too.
So we also had started a forum, which is an open forum. So we want to sort of generate. So there's a forum at the moment called Ask the Southern Highlands. We thought we should have a forum for business. For this, about the same thing. So we've actually got this forum, and there's about 130. Don't quote me on that, but about 130 people that have registered now, so they can actually make comment. But there's a lot more people looking at the site now, so it's a great way of communicating things that are happening in the area. So an example of that is I had the Sarah from the Barrel Classic rang me from Sydney this morning. She was going to meet with me before this session, and she was sick. So we talked, and she said, "Look, how can we get out to more people and stuff? And can you guys help?" And I said, "Of course we can help. It's a community, So we said to her, "Look, if you log into that site this afternoon, I'll make sure that our administrators give you permission to be contributors, and you can start putting your message out on that site immediately, and we'll make sure that we actually boost it and all that sort of stuff." So, because they're looking at getting more people involved in the Barrel Classic. Now, it's not difficult to get involved. There's plenty of places to get involved. If we could, one of the things I think we should be pushing council to do is to reinstate junior council.
I'd never heard of said
junior council. Years ago was a way that we taught young people how to be councillors of the future.
Wow. Okay.
So why shouldn't we be doing that stuff? We how many private schools do we have in this area? Lots. Yeah. And they're bright kids. Yeah. Moss Vale High School's doing extremely well at the moment.
Yeah, so's Barrel.
Barrel.
Yeah.
So the two schools we've got, plus the private schools, we can get enough young people. What my daughter did a course years ago in this area where they taught young people to be entrepreneurial.
Yeah, well, I think that's coming soon.
Good, because it's helped her.
Because Kate Ingham.
Yes, Kate Ingham. Oh, she's with
Herd.
Yes, through Herd.
Yeah, they've done one recently for young folks.
Yep.
I believe there might be another organisation that's looking at potentially some incubators.
So this process that my daughter went through was run through the schools, and they were put in teams, and they were asked to start a business.
Yeah, how good's that?
And it was fantastic. Now, my daughter and her husband run a transport business now, and some of that stuff that she learnt way back then, that stuff becomes invaluable to people later in life. And I just think, rather than, as you said before, it's easy to complain, but rather than complaining, we should be looking at all of these things. And I know Kate Ingham's working really tirelessly to make some of those things happen. And Kate was one of the early board members on the chamber.
Oh, I really did not know that.
Yeah, she was the comms director there for a while. And Kate and I talk regularly. She comes along to the 6 degrees separation networking nights.
Yep.
And we talk about all of that sort of stuff. I mean, I don't get too involved in what she's doing with the incubators and stuff because I've already got enough stuff to do, and I just think we need to let her do what she's got to do.
Yeah, she's doing a really good job.
But so, there's a lot of groups in this area, and if we could get those groups to work more towards a common goal.
Yeah, it feels like the bit that's missing is that overarching purpose and direction.
The economic development plan, which has been missing for 4 years now. Okay, so we need to have one that actually is now the 4 areas that they've actually touched on in that thing. We should have that plan's not difficult to write, and what it is a blueprint for where we need to be aiming for the future. If we don't have that blueprint, the Chamber of Commerce struggles with knowing who to invite here because, as I say, I don't need to know who we don't want here anymore. I can't go and invite businesses to come down here and then have council or residents say, "Oh, we don't want them here." That's not going to help me, I want to know, okay, can I invite more research centres down here? Can I invite this sort of industry.
A government hub, a government.
Well, a government hub would be great. Like I work for the New South Wales government, and I could never. So Sydney Catchment Authority has people down here.
Yeah,
Corrective Services has people next door.
Yeah,
there's so many of them.
I forgot Corrective Department of Justice next door.
Justice, that's what I was thinking. Department of Justice. So I agree with that. I mean, we should have a hub here for that sort of stuff. We should also have some sort of, what's the learning processes for the future? Now, I don't know. I haven't spoken to Stephen Lowe for a while now from Wollongong Uni. So I have this vision, this thing that keeps coming into my head, that within the next 10 years, we will have virtual universities in every home in Australia. We won't have buildings anymore. It'll be all done. That's where I see.
Yeah, I just did a course. I've done all of my courses over the last 10 years digitally.
Yeah,
I haven't visited a campus.
Well, the way I see it is a little bit different. I see, Dave, what I see is that eventually we'll have this teacher standing in front of you that's actually not real.
Like Star Wars.
Bit like, I mean, when we're that close to having that technology available to us, that you may even have a classroom where more than one person is, and then I just see that you're going to be able to have some of the best lecturers in the world tutoring to our people.
Yeah.
That level of technology is nearly here, if it's not already here. So that's sort of weird that a 63-year-old would be thinking like that.
Hang on, don't give away your age, Steve.
I don't care. It's okay.
21 going on
21
63.
going on 63. So I just think, if we're going to have a learning hub, what's it going to look like into the future?
Yeah.
And if we're going to have these, so all these things we need to plan them out and say, okay, let's go for it. And that is called the Economic Development Plan, and we've got to have it.
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds like it might be a good place to end this conversation. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Thanks.
I probably don't say this enough, but it's really good to hear people talk about leadership, to talk about visions and purpose and direction. Because as I said during the session or during the podcast, I feel like that's a part of our lives that's missing. So really great that you can articulate a message like that.
Thank you.
This has been HighCast with Steve Horton. Who's on next? I think the Koala Conservation Society is on next. Really looking forward to that one. If you are so inclined to go to highcast.com.au, check out the promotions page. You can find out more about Majors Meets and Bright Spenders, two really fantastic organisations that I myself are using, and I wouldn't promote them if I wasn't. That's one of my little prerequisites. That I promote the things that I use and that I find fantastic. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.